everybody. It's Stephanie and Stephen. I'm
Good
Stephen.
morning.
That's Stephanie over there in that line.
Stephanie.
Yeah, over here. I think you probably figured it out, but who knows? Maybe not. Maybe looks. We've been hanging out so much. Maybe we're starting to look like each other. I don't know.
Maybe.
I think we're starting to think like each other. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
But anyways, in another life, we might have been married. I don't know, but not in this life. So
Um,
anyways, I digress as I often do. All right. So this is session 4 of the Churchill Block, if you've been following along. And today we're going to work on steps 6 and 7. Very easy steps to put things together. You've already got part of this done because we're going to be working with the 4 patches we did in the last session. So now we're just going to attach a couple of triangles to those, and we're going to trim them. This is step 6. There is a little bit of a, not really a trick, but Doug Lico wasn't quite absolutely clear on the trimming for these, so we will go over that. It's not difficult, but we'll go over that. And then we'll move on to step 7, which basically is taking some parts we made in the previous steps and just putting them on either side, just straight sewing, really, for that. So this won't take a long time. So I'm going over to my cutting mat.
awesome. I
And
don't know about you, but this is one of the steps that like was a little bit tricky for me. Um,
yeah, why was that?
well, just because of the trimming, like you were saying,
Yeah.
so it wasn't super clear. And this is where the first block I made, I had to go back and like readjust, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah, I had the same problem. That's why we're going to talk about that once we sew the parts together. But this is the piece in step 6 that we are creating. They call it Unit K. And as you can see, it's that 4 patch. And basically it's just turned. You put a triangle at the top, and you put a triangle on the side. Now, the one trick though you want to be aware of is watch your colors to
yeah.
make sure that you have this color up here in the corner is the one that you want in that corner, according to what you have done. Now, in the diagram, which kind of coincides with what I'm doing, they show sort of a green square and a purpley square, and that just happens to match my teal and purple. So I knew that my teal one had to go up here. How about in your case?
So in my case, each one of my blocks is different. So what Stephen is saying is the purple, for instance, in their diagram is going to be your outside. So the outside piece right here. So in my case, it's the black this time. So I have to make sure my black is on the outside.
Yeah, so you just have to be aware of that so you keep things consistent. But then
Mhm.
from there, all you're going to do, let me take that one off, is you're going to make sure those are in the right orientation. You're going to take one of your triangles. This is piece D. This came from cutting a 6.5-inch square into 4 pieces, and it gave you 4 of these triangles and marked them as piece D. And then you just have to center them. Well, this is really easy. You don't need to draw anything because you can just line the point right up along that center line
Yep.
and sew it across. Then you're going to press it that way away from, I think it's away from it, isn't it? Yes, he shows that
Yes.
away from the 4 patch. And you're going to put your next piece on, do the same thing, line it up with the center line and the edge, sew it, and then press it out. And you have the piece. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now, if you wanted to, I didn't need to, but sometimes people like to put some clips into it or pin it just to keep it
Hmm.
straight. But it's a pretty small piece. I don't think it's that difficult to keep straight.
No, we pinned those other ones, but I don't feel like this one I need to because, like you said, you have that straight line to line up your point to.
Yeah, so it's really not difficult. And you can do some chain stitching here, which is what I'm going to do. Instead of cutting my thread, getting up and going over to my iron and pressing them all out, I can do that as one step. And it just say shift from up and down, up and down. But if you're more comfortable getting up and down, you go for it. It's exercise. Who says quilting doesn't give you exercise?
You can finger press them and get finger exercise.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think I made a little boo-boo.
Uh-oh.
No, it's not anything. I put the
Oh,
side pieces on first before the top, but that doesn't matter.
oh.
I thought I got my orientation wrong. You see, that's what you call you move your stuff over to your sewing machine. In the process of moving it, at least for me, I often get things turned around. Don't
Yep,
know how that happens, but it does.
it does. It happens.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's not a problem. So okay, I've got these pieces sewn, so I'm going to take them to my iron, and I'm just going to press them away from the center four patch. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, I wasn't going to tell people this. Not the fact that I'm an idiot. They already knew that already. But I'm going to show you here on camera. Yesterday, when I was prepping for today's video, I realized I was out of this color of fabric. Here, the blue, which I needed for the points, because I've already finished my quilt with these, but you're not seeing that yet. So I had two long 2.5-inch strips of this color left, and I just sewed them together, and I needed to cut out two 6.5-inch squares to make 8 of these D pieces. And so I figured, okay, I'm just piecing that together. No, because this one is just the block for demo purposes. I just sewed on 2 of them the triangles backwards. So
Oh no.
you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up. So you can see my stitch lines on the other one, on the other side. So that was dumb, really dumb. I'm just batting 1,000 this morning.
Yeah, that's all right.
So I don't know.
Coffee hasn't kicked in yet, huh?
I'm not going to bother ripping them out because I'm not going to be using these for anything. So I'm just going to carry on and pretend that I never made that mistake and try not to make a mistake on the other one. So mine are going to look a little funny when you see the finished piece, but that's okay. I've let you know on this little secret that just wouldn't be me if it wasn't an idiot move. Actually, you should know why I did it too when I wasn't thinking. It's
Uh-huh.
because I'm using batiks. And
Oh yeah.
this whole project, I haven't had to worry about a right side or a wrong side. But now I've created a wrong side by piecing those scraps together. And I just threw it down, not thinking.
Well, that's okay. From the sewing, they'll still get the idea of what to do.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I would rip these out if this was going to be actually part of the finished quilt, but
Yeah.
I need to. I'm not going to sweat it.
So I know a lot of people who are making this with us have already finished theirs. But if you guys are sewing along with us, tell us down below in the comments how you're doing, how it's coming.
What problems you may have had, because we've had a few minor ones, but nevertheless, they
Yeah.
were problems. Okay, I've got those on. Now I can press them. This is actually a little opportunity here to show you one of my patented idiot move correctors. You can see on this piece I have here, before I trim it up, that you can see my stitch lines where this piece that I put the wrong side up. And I used, of course, I have white thread. So if I don't want to see that, I can take my blue fabric marker and I can just go over those thread lines.
Uh-huh.
And it disappears. And fabric markers are permanent. So when you wash the quilt, if you ever have a problem where you need to do this, it's good if you like if your stitches come up for one reason on a piece and you can see your seam stitches. If you just touch it up with one of these fabric markers in a color that's really close, once the quilt's together, nobody's going to know. So, I'm an idiot. So when I make mistakes, I must have ways to compensate for that.
Fix those things. Yeah.
Okay. So those are covered up. So how are you ready for the trimming?
Yep, I'm at the point of trimming.
Okay. So I'll explain what I did and you can explain what you did and then people can
Sure.
take that, whatever. Okay. So you see, this is what you've got. And it says in the instructions, trim unit J's. This is now unit J. Width to 7.5 inches as shown. Be sure to also trim the top of unit J so the middle point is 1/4 inch from the edge. Make 4. Okay, here's your problem. You have some overhang here on these, and they're talking also about doing 1/4 inch away from that top point. So when you trim that off, okay, that makes sense because you don't want to lose your point. But what are you supposed to do with this? This piece along here is supposed to measure 7.5 inches. What I was doing was I was very carefully taking my ruler, going down to this point here and trying to get 1/4 inch from that point. So it was only a little bit to shave off, but that wasn't giving me 7.5 inches. Then I realized, wait, when this is put into the quilt, I don't have to worry about losing that point because there will not be a point when that happens. It'll be a straight line. So all you have to do is just line it up along that where the point of this piece comes out and just make sure it's straight and just cut it off. And the same with the other side. Oops, make sure I get this the right orientation. Yeah, I want that one. I want to check this one. Yeah, okay, fine. And then that top point, just line up your ruler. So your 1/4 inch line is at the top of that point, and I use one of the lines on the ruler down below just to on the straight on the edge, just to keep make sure it's straight, and then away you go. And this should measure 7.5 inches, and it does. It measures 7.5 inches.
Nice.
What did you do?
Okay, so I do something similar, but kind of opposite. I start with the bottom first, or the top, I guess they're calling it, and get that 1/4 inch.
Okay.
So I just picked a line on my ruler, and there's a white line on my Creative Grids ruler that I put all the way where my black square is, which is the outside piece, found the tip of that and ran it all the way down to the bottom here, where we're going to cut off the fabric to get the 1/4 inch. Made sure it went through all these points, and I'm going to trim this and get my 1/4 inch first.
I'm following along with you.
No worries. And then I turn this and I use that same point. So half of 7.5 is 3.75. So I found 3 and 3/4. And again, line up my ruler through all the points, all through all these squares here. And I've got a nice straight edge on the top because I just cut that first. And then I cut off one side and then I do the second side after I get the first side cut off.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I cut that side off and I'm going to turn it around and just put on my ruler at, oops, 7.5 and cut the other side.
Okay, so my method is I'm kind of eyeballing it for straightness on that edge. Your way of doing it is much more accurate.
So that's what my piece came out to look like. And they're coming out the same, both Stephen and I. So whichever way you guys do it, you know, there's multiple ways to do any kind of thing. So
yeah. But Doug Lico did not explain very clearly
yeah.
how we should be cutting these pieces to get his 7.5 inches.
Yeah, not so much. And take your time trimming these so you can trim them correctly.
Yeah.
Because it does make a difference at the end putting the block together. Like Steven said, this block is not really that hard, but you have to be precise kind of each step.
And that's the whole difficulty with this particular block too. If you're not accurate every step of the way, you are going to have some problems later on. So I have my 4 all trimmed up. Yes, your method, I can see, definitely would be more accurate than my method.
It's slower though, so.
Well, yeah, but you know, it's not a race.
Yeah.
But I really hadn't thought of that. You have a much more mathematical mind than I do, I think, because I wouldn't have thought of that.
Mm. Yeah, I don't consider myself creative because I have a very mathematical like linear brain.
Yeah, I switch. Depends on the project.
Yeah.
But I think I lean more towards the right brain than to the left brain. Like I usually say, I can do the simplest things with the greatest of complexity.
Okay, there we go. That's got all 4 now.
All
Nice and trimmed.
nicely trimmed. So the next thing in step 7, what we do, we need the unit H's. This is a unit H. It's the one where we took the square and put the 2 triangles on it. So we have this. And we need 8 of those, of course, as I already said, because we need 2 for each one of these pieces. And so this is very easy. The only thing is make sure you get the orientation correctly. So I'm just going to put my whole board around here and show you what I do. So I've got these 2. So I just flip that one over, and I do use clips on this. Now, something I found, which would be my cutting or whatever, that as long as I'm straight along this side up here, it doesn't matter about this side.
Yeah.
It's going to look like it's a little off. But when you press it back from that, and then when it gets into the final parts of the block, that self-corrects. So what I like to do is just, now I just flipped it over, you see, but I'm keeping this one up into the corner of here. And I just put in 2 clips to hold it there. And that's how I prepare all the pieces so they're ready to basically chain stitch when I get over to the machine. Do you do anything different from that?
Except not using clips. That's basically the same thing I'm doing. Yeah.
So you're not clipping it
No.
because you're confident that you'll be on this confident. Also, what the clips do for me is you've already seen how I can easily get myself turned around in that last piece I just sewed. Well, I know where I see my clips. I know that's the seam that I'm going to be sewing down. I know some people would say, come on, that's so simple. Yeah, like I said, I do the simplest things with the greatest of complex. If there's going to be a screw up, I will make it. I should be a pattern tester for people because then they could say certified idiot proof.
So did you crown yourself with that name or did
Oh yeah. Well, what do you mean,
yeah.
idiot? That what for?
Yeah, the idiot quilter?
Uh, yes and no.
Okay.
That was actually given to me by Walter because before I started doing the idiot quilter, when I first got into quilting, he would hear me cursing and swearing down here, and I go, I made this mistake. And he'd come, what did you do? And I show him, well, you're an idiot. Every time when I start cursing and swearing because I've done something wrong, to the point where I just say, yeah, I'm an idiot. And I figured, let's call it the idiot quilter. Why not?
There you go.
So that is why I make no bones about it. I am far from perfect. And that's why I started the channel, because I want to show other people that you will make mistakes. And it's
Yeah.
in the world, you can usually recover from the mistake. Don't beat yourself up about it. Because a lot of channels, they show you the finished product. They never show you the problems that they have had. And they've had problems. They're just not admitting to it.
Right.
Except Stephanie, of course. I mean,
No,
Stephanie's always perfect.
that's not true. But like you, I try to, if I do make a mistake, I've seen ripped on camera and things like that.
Yeah.
No sense in hiding that stuff because we all do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a fact of the creative process, actually, or quilting.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make a mistake. I mean,
Yep.
you got to think about it. When you are dealing with a whole lot of little pieces of fabric, there are many opportunities to do an idiot move.
And the ones that don't show the mistakes, you know,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't really watch those people because I don't really trust them.
No, and I think you're doing a disservice to people that like you watch these videos to learn. And
Yep.
if everything comes out perfect every time, but yours doesn't, you sit there and you scratch your head and go, I can't do this, especially a new quilter. It's very discouraging for a new quilter. I mean, I've felt that way when I first started into quilting. I thought, wow, can I do this? I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting the results that they are, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Then I figured out, well, yeah, this is probably part and parcel of the learning process here. You learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from your perfection.
Right. Well, during the pandemic, one of the big ones, and I'm not going to say who it is, you guys can figure it out. I was watching and there was like a couple thousand people watching the live that day. She was doing a tutorial, this lady. And she had her blocks always look perfect. She's one of those that they don't show the mistakes.
Yeah.
But she was doing it live and her blocks still looked nearly perfect, but the one seam on the or the one the one seam on the one side of her block, just one little square on this block was off by like a smidgen, like an eighth of an inch, something you could have completely made up for in the seam allowance, right?
Right.
And she's like, oh, this is trash. And right on live camera, she threw it in the garbage and started all over again. And I was like, Wow. I was like, you just told a couple thousand new quilters that unless it's absolutely perfect, that is trash.
Yeah.
And that really upset me because I was like, that's not what this is about.
No. And I have seen some who do a video, and they make a mistake. And probably if you're a new quilter, you wouldn't notice it, but as an experienced quilter, you'll pick it up. And they cover it up. They don't mention it. They just put
Yeah.
their hand over it when they're moving on to another thing and never admit that there was a problem there.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe they don't want people to think badly of them. Like, oh, you're on here. I look to you as being an expert, and you're made a mistake. Well, but I think there's more power in the fact that someone does admit that they made a mistake and show you how to get out. Like Sean, the guy who sews, his favorite friend is Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And he makes no bones about it when he's using it, and I admire him for that.
I do too.
Okay, so I've got mine sewn together now, and all you have to do is press, and you're going to press out from the center.
Yeah. And we press these out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like the ones who do that because you don't show people then how to fix it. And
No.
I don't know, just making people think that they have to be perfect every time or they're not a quilter. That just makes me upset.
Well, that's intimidating for someone just coming into this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they're
and
all
part of the reason that it's a homemade craft is because it's not like something mass produced the same way every time in China.
no, and you will have to fudge sometimes. I mean, I call this block the fudge block because I've had to fudge it along the way. And when you see the final quilt top, not this week, I'm going to point out what things are there that I had to fudge and to get what I got. And is my quilt top perfect? No, it's not. It is not. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. If I was going to put it in a competition, yes, I would worry about it. But I'm not.
The Amish folks in my area,
Yeah.
they're about as close to perfection in quilting as you can be, right?
Yeah.
Because it's their thing. And even they purposely put in a mistake in every quilt just so people know it's handmade.
Well, okay. That's what I was told about the Amish, and I was told that they have one mistake in there, like a block turned one way or something, because the only God is perfect.
Yep.
And of course, the Amish have a religion. Then I did some research about that, and you want to know something? I found that that's a lie. That's oh, I just found an interesting mistake. What an idiot. Okay, I'll point that out now. That actually, no, they don't do that on purpose. But I don't know what's true. Both sound reasonable.
That's what I've always been told is it's not because of the religious aspect, but just so people know that it's handmade. It's not made in China.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, okay. That variation of it I have not heard, but that makes
Yeah,
certain
because
sense.
they sell quilts here, and they're very expensive, which
Yeah.
knowing all the work that goes into it, because they hand piece and hand quilt everything, they should get every penny that they're asking for. But that's what I've been told that that's why they do it. So people realize that
This is
that's
handmade.
why,
Yeah.
that they're not made in China, that they're real, they're made by real people.
Well, I have one of these things does not belong. If
Uh,
Walter was here, he'd pick it out immediately.
oh, I think I see it, the blue.
Got, well, I'm just batting 1,000 today on this. I got my block, and I did this when I put on the blue triangles. It's not the end pieces, it's the blue ones. I got my block turned around.
Ah.
But I'm going to be Amish about it. And next time when we come and we assemble the whole block together, I'm leaving it in to let you know that this has been handmade.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my
So do you
story.
now trim these little dog ears off, or do you just leave those until we put the whole block together?
I left it until you put the whole block together because you're going to
Okay.
be anyways, and it comes off, so don't need it. I mean,
Yep.
if you're not comfortable with it, you can do it.
No, that's what I did too. I left mine until the end. I was just curious what you did.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So that's step 6 and 7.
Yeah. So
Next
that's
time,
all 4 of our pieces that's going to go around that center block, and
yeah,
this is going to finish up your whole block.
yeah,
So really pretty.
and it may or may not finish up to exactly what the measurements are. Okay, you can fudge it. That's what we'll do next time. I'm just going to move myself over closer to
Awesome.
this camera. And here we go. So if you're following along with us, and if you have questions or anything, or you've discovered interesting things that happen as we have, please be sure to write them in the comment section below. And yeah, and a lot of you, as Stephanie's already said, we know you've worked ahead. That's just fine. And you've got yours already done, and that's perfectly all right. Next week, we'll put the whole block together, and then you can make a decision, if you haven't already, whether this is going to be a table topper, a table runner, or you're going to do what I do or what we're doing, making a whole quilt out of it as well. So that's for next week. So any final words, anything else?
No, I think we covered everything, but this step I feel like is with the trimming and all that was one of the trickiest steps. So just take your time. It'll be fine. As Stephen always says, it'll quilt out.
Yep,
So
it'll cool down. And
yeah.
yeah, and what Stephanie says, take your time with it, because look what I did. I screwed it up. Not once today. I screwed up twice today. Like, really? So I'm batting 1,000 here. So hopefully next week it won't be. By the way, as I said, next week I'm using these pieces because I have any more of that fabric left. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have a very different finished block than everybody else, probably.
That's all right.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. All right, so that's great. Okay, so we'll see everybody next time.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.